Rabbi Dovid Feldman is one of the most outspoken voices in the United States Jewish community against Zionism and Israeli genocidal policy and war crimes in Gaza and in the occupied Palestinian territories. Rabbi Feldman resides in New York and is temporarily in Italy to attend some conferences and demonstrations in solidarity with the Palestinians and with Italian workers. He is the spokesperson for Neturei Karta, an international Orthodox Jewish anti-Zionist group which affirms that Judaism and Zionism are fundamentally opposed to each other. Rabbi, thanks very much for being here with us today.
You're so very welcome. It's a pleasure meeting you and talking to you.
So, Rabbi, as a Jewish person who opposes Zionism, how do you define the difference between Judaism as a faith and Zionism as a political ideology?
You have answered the question. This is very important and people need to know, because otherwise people are falling into the trap of Zionism and being manipulated to blindly support Zionism. We must understand that Judaism and Zionism is not only not the same, they are the diametric opposites. Judaism is a religion only, while Zionism is a political movement. Not only that it is different, it happens to be that Zionism is forbidden, is the contrast of Judaism. One of the very famous propaganda tools the movement of Zionism is using is the promised land. God promised the Holy Land for the Jewish people, which happens to be a true concept, but is being misused in Zionist propaganda. Yes, God promised the land for the Jewish people, but in the same time, it was promised to the Jewish people on condition. That's the other side of the coin nobody speaks about. It was given to the Jewish people on condition that they keep the land and the level of holiness God requires of them, otherwise they would be expelled from the land. Unfortunately, Jewish people did not meet the level that God required of them. There are many verses in the Torah which says that we say this twice a day. Be careful not to stray from God, otherwise you will be expelled from the land. Several hundred years after the Jewish people were brought into the Holy Land, the Jewish people did not enter the land. It was God bringing the Jewish people into the Holy Land. There's a verse says, not through the sword did they inherit the land, it's through the hand of God. God warned the Jewish people through the prophets, unless you repent, you would be exiled. Unfortunately, this exile came about. Now, all Jews throughout all generations, without any exception, accepted the concept of Jewish exile as a divine decree, something that we are required to accept because it's God's will. And we are forbidden to fight against it by any physical means. We are forbidden to end this exile by any physical means. Now, this whole philosophy of Zionism is in total violation of Judaism, even before any crime committed to a human being or to an animal. When this happens in Palestine by so many crimes, oppressing an entire people, stealing the land, killing so many people, this is just adding so many crimes to it. And we always say killing, stealing, oppressing a people is not only a violation of international law. This is not only a breach of every standard of human rights. These are violations of Judaism. Now, when the state of Israel claims to speak or to act in the name of all Jews, supposedly all Jews support them, this is wrong. This is embarrassing to us as Jewish people. But on top of this, when our religion is being misused to justify these crimes, this is a true desecration of God's name. But let's understand what's happening here. We have a state of Israel, which is officially secular. They don't claim to be Jewish. They don't claim to follow the Jewish religion. Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't claim to eat kosher or to observe the Sabbath. And these people, or this movement, misuses this very same religion they refuse to follow. They misuse it in order to justify crimes which are forbidden in this very same religion.
You mean they use it as a pretext?
As a propaganda tool. This is total hypocrisy. But unfortunately, people don't know these details. And what happens at the end of the day is that Zionist propaganda portrays this as the Jewish people, generally including all Jews, and as the Jewish religion. Now, nobody wants to be anti-Semitic. Nobody wants to fight the Jewish people, and they shouldn't. Nobody wants to fight God, and they shouldn't. But it's the other way around. By supporting the state of Israel, one is rebelling against God, because this movement is a rebellion against God. By supporting the state of Israel, one is not supporting the Jewish people. One places the Jewish people in danger. In addition to Palestinian people being in danger, people being mass murdered, not only the past 2 years, but already for the past 77 years. But in addition to that, Jewish people are in danger because of what is taking place. We say that the state of Israel is the greatest exacerbation of anti-Semitism today. If one is concerned about anti-Semitism, this is a whole discussion. But it's the state of Israel placing the Jewish people in danger.
From your perspective, how have Israeli actions in Palestine affected the global image of Jewish communities?
The Zionist movement, especially with the actions they are taking against Palestine, have placed the Jewish people in a terrible situation, made a terrible image on the Jewish people. While Jewish people are supposed to be the people of the book, are supposed to be the pious people, friendly, peaceful, respectful, and so on. Unfortunately, what the Zionist movement is doing, portraying an image as the Jewish people are one of the worst of humanity. This is wrong, dangerous, embarrassing, and a desecration of God's name.
How has Zionism contributed to rising anti-Semitism by linking Jewish identity to state violence?
One has to be very careful not to conflate Judaism with Zionism. What we are seeing today, whoever speaks up a word against horrific crimes committed by the state of Israel against the Palestinian people, they would be falsely accused as anti-Semitic, based on the notion that anti-Semitism equals anti-Zionism equals anti-Semitism, basically conflating Judaism with Zionism. Now, this is wrong. Why is it wrong? Just because it is wrong, because Judaism and Zionism is not the same. Not all Jews support the state of Israel or its actions. Masses of Jewish people worldwide disagree and publicly oppose it. The Jewish religion is against all what is taking place. Now, this is wrong to conflate the two. It is wrong. It is doing an injustice to the Palestinian people, because what this false anti-Semitism accusation is doing, while anti-Semitism is a true concept, and is a concept that people should be concerned about, but when this is being misused, blaming whoever speaks up for justice in regards to the Palestinian people, blame them as anti-Semitic, this is obviously doing a terrible injustice for the Palestinian people, because this terribly oppressed people who are mass murdered, deserve the voice of the righteous people around the world to speak up for them. Because if not for those righteous people, who will? This is a terrible injustice for the Palestinian people, but in the same time, this is doing an injustice for the Jewish people. Because when you conflate Judaism and Zionism, you are making a statement. You are saying, as if, God forbid, all Jews support Israel, as if all Jews are behind all these crimes, which ends up making a statement that all Jews are accountable to what is taking place. This is dangerous. In addition to all dangers brought upon the Palestinian people, this is bringing so much danger to the Jewish people. And I can only encourage people of conscience to understand this. You are not supporting Jews by supporting Israel. If you choose to support Jews, we highly appreciate that. one should support Jews, one should support humanity, one should support everyone. But as a Jewish person, I definitely appreciate that. But supporting Israel is not support for the Jewish people.
So you think that Jewish communities abroad paid a social or security price for policies they did not choose to support?
Certainly. Jewish people, especially people who are visibly Jewish, when I travel in the airport, unless I have my kafir, I'm scared that people would misunderstand who I am. And unfortunately, people see somebody visibly Jewish, they associate it automatically with Zionism, with the state of Israel, and with these crimes. And this is unfair because I don't deserve this. I don't support all of this.
Have you ever been personally threatened?
I was threatened by the Zionist movement. I was threatened by Zionists. But you can ask, and you might want to ask, whether I felt myself in danger when I visit Muslim countries, or I visit Gaza, or I attend pro-Palestinian rallies in Italy or any place of the world. And my answer is no. I never have a problem. I make sure to be visibly not the enemy, and I have no problem. Nobody hates me because I'm Jewish. People might have guilt feeling towards some Jews because they associate them with the state of Israel.
This takes me to the next question. How are anti-Zionist Jews treated within their own communities and by pro-Israel organizations?
Okay, very well asked. Their own communities and pro-Israeli, this is a great difference. How we are treated by pro-Israelis, very bad. Very bad in all in different ways. But in the same time, while we can face difficulties, threats, physical attacks from pro-Israelis, we have massive support from other communities, from anti-Zionist communities, which is okay.
Do you think that, or do you feel that Jewish critics of Israel face censorship, marginalization, or smear campaigns in public discourse of the media?
Well, certainly there is a manipulation in the press. If it would have been honest journalism, I always say, I don't have to be in Italy if there is honest journalism, because everybody is going to understand everything and things will be very clear. Unfortunately, because it is this massive ignoring the voice of the righteous, therefore, the ordinary people almost have no choice and they don't have the proper information. And while they need to make their decisions, they have very little information to build their decisions on.
Why do you think Jewish opposition to Zionism receives so little coverage, so little international media coverage?
Not because it's Jewish, just because it's anti-Zionist. Whatever is anti-Zionist, the mainstream media will either ignore or vilify. It's not right, it's not just, it's not fair for the readers and for the listeners and for the viewers. People deserve honest journalism. And that's why I appreciate Press TV for being upfront, being honest, and bring for the people what they need, what they deserve.
How are ordinary Jewish civilians inside historical Palestine affected by constant militarization and war policies of the Israeli government?
I have to be very clear. The people suffering by the hands of the Zionist regime are not only the Palestinians. It is Jewish people who suffer as well. If you live in Israel, if you support the government, then you're okay. If you're silent, also okay. If you dare to speak up, then you'll be badly attacked. From arrests, harassments, physical attacks, night raids in the middle of the night, and assassinations from time to time. this is something that people need to understand, that the state of Israel is not the savior for the Jewish people. It is the protection for the Zionist movement. And whoever stands in their way, whether they're Palestinians or Jewish, would be attacked. And this happens on a daily basis.
What impact does compulsory military service and a culture of permanent fear have on Israeli society?
With these new laws in Israel forcing the youth to serve in the army, our communities are struggling. Our people fervently believe that this state of Israel has no right to exist. It has no right to exist morally. It has no right to exist religiously. And unfortunately, I have to be clear, this doesn't mean that these people believe that Jewish people should be killed. On the contrary, these are Jewish people. And they are concerned for the Jewish people, they are concerned for any human being. But this political movement of Zionism is something that is fundamentally wrong. Now, our people would never contribute to this rebellion against God, to this criminal movement. We would never serve in this Israeli army. The government is doing everything they can, the Israeli government, to force our people. When our boys and girls turn 17, automatically they become criminals because they don't serve. I have a close friend of mine who left or escaped the state of Israel. And his teenagers are still back there in Israel and they have no choice. They can't leave. They reach the airport, they get arrested right away. This is this open air prison where the Jewish people are being held hostage. This is unfair. People should have the right to conscientiously object to serve in an army which they religiously and morally believe is fundamentally wrong. And in no way should people be forced to carry out with their bare hands actions which they fundamentally oppose.
Rabbi, as a Jewish person, how do you personally feel when violence against Palestinians is justified in the name of Jewish security?
This is horrific for two reasons. First of all, even if the state of Israel would have been the safety of the Jewish people, how in the world can we justify this by oppressing an entire people? This is simply unacceptable. It is forbidden according to our religion. And it's our communities who suffered in the Holocaust. For example, it's my family, my communities, my mentors and rabbis who are Holocaust survivors. We know what suffering is, and we don't want this to happen to anyone. But this is wrong even if it would have been the safety for the Jewish people. Why in the world should we allow this to happen to others? Why should we do it to others? But it happens to be the other side, the other way around. The existence of the state of Israel and all their actions they are committing in the name of Jewish security is not only inflicting so many crimes on the Palestinian people, but endangering the Jewish people at the same time. This is a disaster for everyone involved. And we are encouraging Jewish people to rethink their blind support to Israel. Because number one, this is wrong. Number two, this is dangerous for our people.
How painful is it personally to see acts of violence carried out while claiming to represent Judaism worldwide?
This is terribly frustrating, especially as religious people. The Jewish religion is the most precious by me more than my own life. Seeing that God's religion is being so badly misrepresented is deeply disturbing. And especially when we see this done by people who disregard this religion altogether. This is a total hypocrisy. If it would have been some people that might be misguided, and there are some people who are misguided and they do this out of their good intention, then it's an issue of mistake. We have to correct these errors. We have to educate them. But generally speaking, in the state of Israel, this is a vicious propaganda tool intentionally misguiding people. There is no excuse.
Can you tell us about Jewish movements, Jewish organizations, Jewish groups today that openly oppose Zionism?
Jewish communities, we have strong Jewish communities in a number of parts of the world who are very publicly, vocally anti-Zionist. I'm from New York. New York is a very strong community. If you come visit our communities, you would find massive areas with tens of thousands of families with no Israeli flag, no celebration of the state of Israel. These communities are totally anti-Zionist. You go to Al-Quds, Jerusalem. You have a very strong anti-Zionist community. You go around in the area, you would find Palestinian flags on the walls, and then the police comes, Israeli police comes and remove them. It's a whole game. But you have in London strong communities, in Canada, but you have so many other communities who are strongly anti-Zionist. But as you can imagine, intimidation is massive. And so many people are so intimidated. And they cannot come out in public. If they come out, I always tell this story. I had a very close friend of mine, and once comes over to me and tells me, I'll do everything I can to support you financially, but I have a big business in New York City. If I join you in person, they take a picture of my face, I close down the business the same day, which is unfortunately true. But when you see vocal people outside on the streets, you can imagine how many more people are behind them, supporting them in each and every way.
A few more questions. Would you be able to explain to what extent AIPAC influences the American political life?
AIPAC is a very sad entity. Unfortunately, AIPAC is manipulating each and every politician in the United States. Whoever doesn't go in total in line with AIPAC is committing political suicide. Tomorrow they'll lose their position or they would never get in office. This is unfortunately how it is. It's very sad. It's a disadvantage to everyone. And there's so much to speak about this, but unfortunately, this is something that we totally oppose. We protest AIPAC each and every year during their annual conference in Washington, D.C., and we say what we have to say about them.
What risks do Jewish activists take when they publicly criticize Israeli policies or support Palestinian rights? You've traveled a lot and you live in a country where protests have been quite...
Well, we have all different kinds of attacks, starting from verbal to physical to financial. For example, in my town where I live, it was after October 7th when we started with very intense work on Palestine. And two of our people lost prestigious positions because of their activities. They were given a choice. If you stop, then it's okay. And both of them did not choose to stop, they continued and lost the position. These kind of things happen in many other communities. This is just from my little neighborhood where I live. This happens all the time. The Zionist movement makes sure that people should be very aware the price that they are going to pay. And still in all, people are brave and do what's supposed to be done. And again, coming back to that point, despite all intimidations, brave people are still doing what's supposed to be done. And this just shows you, you can imagine how many more people are behind these people, these active people. For each and every person you see on the street, there are thousands behind that individual.
Do you think the Jewish resistance to Zionism is growing internationally? And if yes, what signs support your view?
It is growing. We are seeing much more people today understanding way more than 2 years ago. But even, almost every decade we see a change. We see in the young generation. And when you see, the proof to that is when you see public activities, you see two things. You see more people out there. You see stronger activities, much more financial support behind it. There is so much more going on now than before.
How can Jewish communities worldwide help separate Judaism from state violence and rebuild trust with the Palestinians?
I encourage every Jewish individual, every Jewish community to make a public stance. What exactly the language should be, every individual should choose their own language, how they do it, but they should make clear that we don't support these crimes, we don't support the state of Israel. We are Jews and we are not Zionists. This is what's supposed to be done. Many, many Jewish people put a little sign on their door in front of their house. I'm a Jew, not a Zionist.
What would you say to Jewish people who reject the war but remain silent out of fear?
Well, I cannot judge those people. I can only encourage. We have to do more. Nobody should judge anyone because challenges are very difficult, and I'm not the person to judge anyone. I can only encourage. We need to do what's right. We need to do it for the sake of Almighty God. We need to do it for the sake of the oppressed people of Palestine and for the sake of the Jewish people.
How do you see the solution to the Palestinian cause? Would a referendum among the indigenous population of historical Palestine to decide their future be an ideal democratic solution?
I believe that this is not only an ideal solution, this is the only solution. We have to leave this for the Palestinian people. We have to stop all violence. We have to stop this occupation in its entirety. We need to restore all rights to all oppressed peoples. We have to allow all refugees to return to their homes, towns, and villages. And that's the only way to peace. And I'm saying this not only because the Palestinian people deserve their deserved rights, but this will be in favor of the Jewish people as well. We lived in Palestine before this state of Israel, and we didn't have a need for the state of Israel. On the contrary, the state of Israel has destroyed the safety of the Jewish people in Palestine. We would love to go back to old history and stop all these crimes, all these obstacles to peace, all these causes for conflict. And this is exactly what needs to be done. Let's leave it up to the indigenous population of Palestine to decide what government they want to have. If they want to have an Islamic religious government, we as Jewish people, we are happy because we strongly believe that by an Islamic religious government in the Holy Land, the Jewish people would be way more protected and the Jewish religion would be way more respected than today in this secular, so-called Jewish government.
What's your take on US President Donald Trump's so-called peace plan that he came out with a few weeks ago?
I'm an American Jew. I'm Jewish by the religion I follow. I'm American by nationality. My religion requires of me to be respectful to the government where I live. I am respectful to my government. I'm respectful to my president, regardless whether I agree with each and every policy. That said, I can only say what my religion teaches me. The state of Israel is wrong. This has to stop in its entirety. This is what is the will of God, and this is what will bring good for everyone.
Last question. What is your view on Press TV launching a Hebrew language service? And do you think such a platform can help reach the Jewish community inside historical Palestine audiences with alternative perspectives?
This is an excellent approach. People need honest journalism. There are so many good-hearted, right-minded people that are open for the truth. But if there is no way for them to reach the truth, there is almost no option for them to come out with right decisions. This is an excellent approach, and I can only hope that this will bring so much good for humanity.
Rabbi, thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.